Good morning, ceramic friends. Today we're going to talk about boxes. As you see, I have my 6 pancake stack of slabs ready to go. They are a tiny bit, they're still pretty much leather. There's a little plasticity, so they're bending just a bit. I'd prefer them just be a tiny bit harder, but we'll figure that out. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and smooth out my surface. And also while I'm doing this, I'm figuring out which one I'm going to use as my base. And I pretty much have already figured that out because I reviewed these yesterday as I was cutting them, and there's a few that I'm not happy with or were miscuts. I would say for the sides, but they're perfectly good for our others. So I'm going to go ahead and smooth this side. And again, smoothing, compressing, getting it ready for attachment. And I'm doing the 4x6. You may have chosen to do the 3x5. Either one is okay, it's the same concept. So I'm still going to keep paper towels in between while I'm smoothing until I'm actually ready for them. And I just want to make sure, because the sides that I don't feel like I can smooth or whatnot as I'm putting this together, I want the smoothest, initially the smoothest side to go on the inside of the box, because that's less work for me later. If there's some imperfections in the side, I can always address that later on the outside. I'm not as concerned. So I'm going to be evaluating each slab kind of as I go and deciding which side is inside, which side is going to be outside. And then we'll get these started. But it's pretty similar to the mug construction. When we do our walls, you're going to have to reinforce each corner seam with a little coil or snake, miniature snake, just to make sure that it is ready to go. I'm just trying to even this out as much as possible before I even begin. Sometimes using the straight edge is just as good or more appropriate than using the rounded. It's a little it's still moving a little bit, but we're going to give it a shot. I prefer them just to be a little bit more closer to leather, but it's not totally flopping, so we'll give it a whirl. And if I need to do another video, then I'll do another video and we will go from there. But the only trick, the really most challenging part, is going to be when we have to actually get the boxes connected. That seems to be the hang up. And for this slide, obviously you see big boo-boo. On this one, how many slabs do I have over here? 1, 2, 3 slabs. So this will end up being a wall. So I definitely need to take some time on this. This is where the slab mat was wrinkled or whatnot. And as we know, with those slab mats, it's really good just to have one that's not wrinkled, not bent, not folded in half. Just a nice, clean, flat edge. So I'm definitely going to have some. And then with this too, I of course can add bits of clay into it, and actually this will be a perfect example of an outer wall instead of an inside wall, because I can do something with that in my design or shape. So this side is going to be on the inside of the box, this side will be on the outside, so I can remedy or mask that later with something else. So continue just evening those out. And then as you see, this was a miscut, so I'm only going to be using a portion of it. I'll be trimming off that edge, so we'll see if that works. If it looks like it's not going to work, and I'll just do a test run with it, then I will just roll another slab. But usually I can get it to work. So this is either going to be my base or my top. And I'm going to be focusing on using a corner edge that's intact. And the important thing is once you get this box actually put together, you're going to need to leave it alone for 24 hours and just let the air inside kind of solidify. The air is going to be on the inside kind of pushing out. The box on the outside is going to be shrinking and compressing inwards, but it's going to leave you a nice box. And then within 24 hours you'll want to make the box cut line, and I'll do another video on that to make sure that you guys completely understand, because I'm not going to be able to do that video today until the box has had 24 hours at least to rest. Okay, and last one is this one. And again, I'm going to actually use I think this one is going to be my top, this one is going to be my base. So I can start actually, once we're done smoothing this one out. Almost there. Just trying to smooth, again, compress the clay surface, and it also gets out any imperfections that I'm not going to want to see. Right now this is looking like it's going to be an outside, not the inside of the box, because I see other things that are kind of irking me. So let's do it on this side. Much better. Okay, so this will be the inside of my box, my base, and I want to make sure that I'm doing that because that in itself, I'm going to be using this corner as my kind of guiding spot. And I know I'm going to want to slip and score before we even get started, at least on that one edge, on this edge. But this is nice, clean, even surface. This way I have it ready to go. What's on the back side I can clean up after the fact, but sometimes it can be a little challenging. So I'm going to start it like this. If I can get the tool off the table, that would be fantastic. There we go. Alright, hopefully we'll get the tool off the table. And I'm going to score where I know I'm going to be placing sides. And I can clean this up later after I add my coils and everything, so I'm not going to get too worked up over that. Oh, didn't bring a paintbrush, but that's okay. Alright, so this one over here, because it is irregular, this will end up being my top that I'll trim off and whatnot. So I'm going to set this one to the side. Continue to let it dry. So this is one of my first box edge, and I'm looking for the edge that's the most even. This one looks a little off, so I'm going to be able to fill in and remedy that later. But this one, we again look at which sides. This is going to be an outside edge that I can mask or remedy later with something. This is going to be my inside. So I just want to quickly smooth real quick. There we go. Decide which edge I'm liking. This one's a little bit more even, so I'm gonna score on this one. And here's how we begin our boxes. Obviously, we are gonna score and slip just like we do everything else. I didn't bring a paintbrush, I should have, but I didn't, so we'll be doing this with fingers. Oh, my slip. There we go. And matching corner to corner. And this is how we begin the box. Ta-da! Now, in order for this to stay, obviously it's preferred that you're going to be able to not let it wobble. And we want it to be able to kind of stand on its own. I'm going to put a coil right in here immediately just because I know I'm going to need that regardless. So, and start that coiling, that reinforcing almost immediately. You don't want to wait for that. And I'm going to actually dip mine in slip because I know I'm going to need extra anyway. Put it in there. And I'm going to take the tool and gently have my hand on the outside, supporting and putting my tool right in there, trying to compress it into the corner. And you want to see the wall is trying to move a little bit, and we really don't want that to happen. That's why you have to have the hand on the outside supporting, tool on the inside, blending. And this little thing I can take off. But now we have established our first wall of our box. Okay. And the outside I'm not going to worry about right now. I'm going to remedy that later. I'm really focused just on the inside of the box right now. Now, second wall is going to be in here. So I'm going to have to score from here all the way down. This is where it gets a bit tricky, and this is where people often have challenges. So while you are constructing, please let me know. I am here to help to make sure we get this done right the first time, not the third or fourth time. And it does take time, so you will definitely want to come in prepared, slabs ready, prepared for class, prepared to work, because it is a study. You will need every second of your class period in order to get it done. Okay. And this one, looking at my slab, which one looks the better? Right now, neither, in my opinion, look all that great. So I'm going to do this. Other side's looking really good. This side I feel like I can remedy, so I'm going to use this side as my interior. So that means I need to score here and score here, because we'll be attaching right here. Add extra slip. And as you see, the wall is trying to bend backwards a little bit. That's why we want to definitely get that remedied just in case. Now, I'm not putting it on the outside. I'm fitting it right on the inside. All right, fitting it, putting it together, gently pressing. I'm going to add reinforcing coils. Reinforcing coils here and inside. So I'm going to turn it slightly so we can kind of see that. And then pressing And as you see, the box is starting to kind of come together. Get my coils ready. Soft, wonderful coils that they are. Dunk them in slip. Take them back out. And let the magic begin. There's a big clump of something from the slip. Not sure what that was all about. But here we go. So again, hand on the outside, reinforcing coil on the inside. And you will feel that your box is going to try to buckle a little bit. That's fine. The important thing is to get it just as clean and reinforced as quickly as possible, because without that reinforcement, it's going to be a challenge. And you can see on the outside where it tries to buckle too, so you'll even that. You'll just press in and even that out. Possibly take a paddle to it once the box is done. We're not going to be paddling quite yet. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to see if the camera can get in there. Just reinforce that corner. And that's just helping with the integrity of the box. So I have the corner reinforced. Now I have to work on this bottom edge right here. So we'll quickly do that. Another snake. Okay, dunk it in some slip. Pop it in the corner. And go to reinforce. Hand on the outside, supporting, pressing inward as the tool is going in here. And if you get a little extra support in there, it's certainly not going to hurt anything. So I know it's kind of dark, but hopefully you'll see this soon. But the box is definitely now reinforced. Has some integrity. It ain't going nowhere. Okay, so you can kind of see where we're going with this. And outside is gonna look kind of mangy, and that's okay. We're gonna be able to Botox or blend or fill that in. This will be covered up with a design, so it's not a problem. I'm really focused just on the inside of the box, making sure it's blended and intact so that we can go forth in our box journey. And before you close it up, you'll want to do any kind of smoothing and whatnot. You don't want any excess slip on the inside of the box, because that could be dangerous. Just like you don't want excess water in the bottom of a bowl or anything else you're working on. So right now I'm just trying to smooth out this part so I don't have too much more work to do. Nice and ready for the moment. My next, oh, see, it's wobbling a little bit. That's why you want more leather hard. Next joint is going to be on the inside. So I'm going on the inside and then here. So I might have to, on my last slab, have to trim a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. So The reason why we're doing it this way is that as it shrinks, it's going to shrink together, or as it expands in the kiln, it's going to expand together. So you don't want to just lay your pieces on the outside of the slab or on top of the slab. You really want this inside keep going on, and actually this slab might hang off a little bit on the edge, and we're okay with that. So I'll show you that in just a second. So next slab, just remember everything is on the inside, connecting together. And as I'm going, I'm always eyeballing and making sure my things aren't bowing out or doing any craziness. And I'm not too worried because I know that once I have my inside taken care of, then I'm going to address the outside. Alrighty, so we have another slab here. Try to get some of the goo off. Little chip of something needs to go away. Okay. Check this side. See which one stands better. I think right now this is going to be my outside. It has a lot of remedies that I can see, so I'll just keep this as my inside. Just really want to get this taken care of. And because this has just a little bit of a boo-boo up here, that's something I can trim off later. So I'm looking for my more 90-degree edges, which I find right here. That's what I'm going to be attaching right in here. Score, score, score. Slip, slip, slip. Score, slip, blend. Score, slip, blend. First question on the quiz. It'll be always the first question while I am quizzing you. Score, slip, blend is the $1 million thing. If you can remember that, you can pretty much get everything else taken care of. All right, so again, I'm putting it on the inside, not on the outside, on the inside. And it is tapering off just a little bit off the edge, and I'm okay with that. So that is my third side, and right now I'm just pressing from the outside in, trying to give it a little bit of pressure. And as you can see, the seam line is kind of, that's what we don't want to happen. All right, friends, again, this is what happens when we try to rush. So, and clay does have a memory, so hopefully once we get it fired, it won't remember that it fell for a second, but you never know. So it is what it is. And I was just going to show you where I was pressing in, so this lip is kind of oozing out that seam, but not too worried about that now. And then again, with this edge, I need to get my coil in here and in here. Coiling, so much fun. You can listen to the band playing outside. I have the door open. It's kind of nice in the morning. Get some fresh air in here, number one, and hear the band practice, number two. It's kind of nice. I think I may actually miss that when our journey ends, but we shall see. Okay, so I've dipped my snake in, dipped my little worm, pop it into that corner. I'm going to have extra up here because I'm going to be pushing this and it's going to kind of go extra, so I'm going to cut that off and then put that in this area. And if I had a way of fast forwarding right now, I would, because I know you guys already know this, but hand is on the outside supporting that corner. It's trying to buckle a little bit, and when it does that, just one of those things. And I can push that right in here. And this is going to be just perfect amount to blend right in there. Very nice. So I'm on the outside, reviewing my outside to make sure that it's good. And now we're just going to blend this as much as we can. One of our last beautiful pieces. Okay, so it's coming along nice and blended, and it's kind of warping a little bit, and that could be due to the plasticky nonsense. It could be due to a lot of things. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pop it in here, and I'm having a wee bit of box isn't right up here. It's given me a little fit, so I'm just going to kind of tell it that I really would like it to stay in a box formation. And I have a seam line over here that is exposed, so I'm going to be remedying that before I go any further. And it's going to look ugly before it looks pretty, so just keep that in mind. Don't freak out. It is going to look ugly before it looks pretty. That's how it is in construction, though. So just have to be aware. Don't freak out. It's just one of those things we have to do. This is where some people get freaked out with their boxes because they're like, oh my god, it looks like crap, or other words that I'm not going to say. And that's when you just need to understand, you got to tell the clay who's boss and remedy it. When you see it, remedy it. Don't think about it later. Just get her done when you see it. Okay, so now I have a corner that looks more like a corner, better than it did a minute ago. I don't know if you're even seeing that, but that's okay. So now we add the fourth one. And right now my box is doing, you're going to be eyeballing it as you go, and it's going to sometimes warp a little bit. Right now I have a seam over here that I definitely need to address, so I'm just going to take a minute and take care of that. Usually you do this after you have all fours up, but I'm trying to reinstate again that if you see a problem, remedy it. Don't wait until the next day, because sometimes you've gone beyond the point, past the point of no return, and we don't want that. Okay, so we have nice even skin. Corner's much better now. So on my inside of my box, it's still kind of ruddy. So I'm going to take a different tool. Actually, I'm going to see if I can get my rib in here. This is where it gets a little tricky. You're going to have to, if you have bigger hands, good luck. You're in the same boat I am. If you have smaller hands, you're good to go. You just need to go in, just kind of clean that up. As much as possible, and then whatever's left over, the sponge will have to get. But I'm trying to get most of the things that I'm seeing immediately taken care of, so I don't have to remember and do them later. Just want it as nice and smooth on the inside as possible, because the inside's going to be harder to get to. Some of you are going to decide to put in holes. You're going to cut holes into the side to make it look more like a lantern. Others you will not. So either way is good. I have no preference. I like the lantern look. I think it's a fun thing that you can set outside on your patio and put little candles inside and kind of just enjoy it. Some people will use them as like night lights in their room. Whatever you choose to do is fine. The only thing I'm really concerned about is when I show you the lid, I want the lid to be disguised in the overall design of this, and we'll talk more about that. So now I have my last panel I need to put in, and I'm going to be putting it into 3 sides. The side's going to overhang a little bit, and then I'm going to trim it. Not a problem, but I am going to be setting it on the inside, not on the outside. So I will show you that right now. Okay, here we go. Do that. Get my sleep ready to go. So we're always putting things on the interior, not on the exterior. And that is just going to help ensure nice fit without any problems. So I have my last panel here, last slab, and I'm going to smooth it out. I just got goo on it. The smoothest side, or the best side, is going to be on the inside, so I have less work to do. And this side's looking like a pretty good contender to be on the inside. This side is not going to fit automatically, so you're going to have to do a little bit of trimming. So just so you know. And I'm going to go ahead and trim just a little bit off. Take some eyeballing. Some people are going to prefer to do this with, where'd my knife go? Some people are going to prefer to do this with a ruler. I have no preference, just as long as it works. I'm going to eyeball it just because I know that I've done this 1,000,001 times before. And then I can also use this as my coil that I'm going to use for reinforcing in just a second. So the panel should slide in, just like that. Once it's scored and slipped, so you can kind of see, it just kind of slides in, and you know where you're going to score and slip, and then obviously get on the inside of it as well. Score, score, score. as well. This side I don't need to because it's going to be on the top. I'll score that when I'm ready to actually do that. Slip everywhere. And this last wall is tricky. You are going to have to kind of go fishing with your coils and put your tool down there and do magical stuff like what you've been doing, just like with your mug and everything else. So it's nothing to be afraid of. You're just going to pop that panel in. And again, it's going to look ugly before it looks pretty. Just go ahead and I'm pressing on the edges to try to just get some of that slip to ooze out. And on this one you can see where it's kind of oozing out just a little bit. So I'm pressing till I see it ooze. That way I know that I'm ready to go forth. And as you see on this side, there's a little bit excess right here. I'm going to be trimming that in just a second. So not to worry. And I'm just going to do some initial compressing on the outside. In fact, I'll trim it off right now while we are chatting, because I can use that coil. So on this last panel, I usually spend a little bit more time on the outside first before I even go on the inside. It's just a thing. You'll do what feels most comfortable to you. And my top part is a little uneven, so I'm just going to do a tiny trim. Just a tiny one. And that levels that out. And any unevenness I'm going to fix in just a second with something else. So now we are turning. Still have my excess here that I'm going to cut off, but I got to get my coil on that seam, and that seam. So this is it. This is almost the final frontier. So we are almost there. So I'm going to dip my coil into some slip. I'm definitely going to need a tool to press this down in there. Not sure how well that's showing up, but hopefully you guys get the idea. We've done this a million times over. Put that coil into that seam line so we have no seam line, and it just ensures that you're gonna have a better outcome with your box. I know I'm handling the knife and I should be using a wood tool, but I didn't grab it, so I make do with what I got. Hands are still staying on the outside, so I'm supporting that corner. And now I'm blended in this corner. So now I get down inside that. And push that right where it needs to be, in that corner. So hopefully you're seeing that, but again, it shouldn't be new to you. You've done this before with the footing. When we add footing to pinch pots, you've done this before when we add the reinforcing coils to the inside of those mugs and the tripod cups, so it is good. It's all good. Just need to support on the outside as you're kind of pressing on the inside. And just as blended as possible. And after we're all said and done, I'm going to take a sponge, a large sponge, and just kind of swirl it around in here. And that's going to remedy mostly anything else that I don't like as I'm going along. Okay. So here we go. Okay, so this side's done. This coil is pretty much blended in. Now I just have this inside right in there. This is my last corner to kind of deal with. Get some clay, get some clay. It's much better right there. Any random piece will do, just make sure it's soft. The softest stuff coming out of the bag. It's no big whoop. Dunk it in the slip. Got a little crack attack going on, but I'm not worried about that because it's all going to be blended in no time. That beautiful slip just rolling down. Okay, drop the worm in. We're going fishing. Trying to get it set into that corner. Hands on the outside supporting the corner, pressing on the inside, get this coil established. My reinforcing coil. And this piece can go in the corner if I feel like it's not cooperating. Blending. It's going to get hard. It's going to be difficult to get a rib in here, but I will do so just because I like things nice and blended. I'm finicky like that. The sponge is going to do wonders in just a second, but for right now, focusing on this. Okay, so inside is pretty much blended. There's a little bit of a seam line I'm going to be working on right here. Get any excess nuggets like that. It just popped in there. Kind of out. And there, my friends, is inside of a box. Now, the outside obviously has some work to do. I still have this I need to trim off, still have some other stuff, but basically I have taken care of my inside. And you'll be able to also take care of your inside once we cut the box, cut the lid. That's going to be removed, but that's video number 2. So, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and score this top part because I'm going to add my last slab to it, and we're going to have our box, and I'll show you how to wrap it up. We'll need and kind of clean up a little bit on the outside. You'll need to let it sit, like I said, for 24 hours minimum. You do not want to have You want that air on the inside. That's going to nature pressing forces. The clay's going to want to shrink. The air is going to want to expand. It's going to look for any seam that it can get into and pop out. That is super important why I'm having you guys get these seams addressed. No seam line. If there is a seam line, I guarantee you the air will find it and will pop it off. So please, 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 please address the seams. Make sure they are nice and taken care of. Okay, score, score, score. And a little nugget fell in there. I'm gonna get that out. Slip, slip, slip. And yes, my box is looking kind of ugly, but I'll be able to fix that. The main thing is those seams. You got to reinforce those seams with coils, address them. So you can do it once, do it the right time the first time. And then that way we don't have things to worry about later. Okay, so my last one is this slab right here. So I'm gonna first kind of measure and see, but right now I can automatically see that I'm missing some stuff. So where I trim off here, I'm gonna add in here. But I'm trying to use this 90-degree area so it matches up with this one. And get that going. And later on, I'm going to be trimming off this part, but I can go ahead and once I cut open the top of it, I'll be able to reinforce. This is the only spot, obviously, once you put the slab on, you're not going to be able to reinforce, but when you cut it a day or two later, then you'll be able to lift up the lid and then put the reinforcing coils in. Extra slip. It's my insurance, like Geico Insurance. All right. I have hardly any slip left. So I'm just gonna kind of pour it. Pour it on there. Because this is, you don't want any problems with the slip. Okay, so I have established that this is the top. I don't want to press in here because this is going to actually sink in, and because this is a little bit more plasticky, I'm going to be flipping the box over when I let it set to dry. But what I do is definitely go ahead and, I don't know if you can see this, but I am going to gently do this, and it is going to establish this nice cube. Blend it. Blend, blend, blend. Kind of rounding my corners as I go, but I'm really just wanting to blend. And this may be where you guys want to be using the spinner. Having your thing on a spinner is no problem. I'm just going along the edge, just trying to blend, make it so it appears as if it is one. And this would be the reason why I like to work with clean tools. I always start with clean tools, and I try to clean them as I'm going, just because when you leave a tool dirty and then you're kind of using it, then chunks fall off and different things happen, and it's just not best practice. So starting with clean tools usually is a very smart idea. Okay, so turn it around. You can see where I'm establishing blending. Make sure it is one. And I have a slight little dent right in here I'm not happy about, but I can remedy that later, so I'm not gonna worry too much. I still have to address this area, which I'm going to when I cut this excess off the edge. And you can see where there's excess off the edge. And in order to do that, and I still have excess down here, so I'm gonna cut this first. And just cutting straight down, not cutting at the angle. We'll worry about that bevel angle later that we talked about with our mug. And I'm gonna flip this baby over. Being gentle like a baby bird. Meep, 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 meep. It's kind of trying to warp a little bit, and that could be because of the fall that it took, little tumble it took earlier, but again, I'm not too concerned. I'm just going around and reinforcing some of these really quickly. This is where it looks ugly before it looks pretty. And I'm okay with that because I know it's gonna look pretty later. This has to take time. Okay, and over here we see we have this excess, so I'm just gonna trim that. Not at an angle like what we did before. I'm trimming straight down, not at the bevel, straight down for right now. You guys will understand later why. Okay. So on that, now we're looking like we have closer to a cube, or not a cube because it's a rectangle, but I'm going to turn it back over. I'm getting a fresh paper towel so I can address this part. Now, right here, I need, what I'm looking for is pretty much a, sometimes you can find the angle that you need off other bits, but this one's not working so much, so not a problem. Just gonna go ahead and score. And for this, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see if I can move this. I'm just gonna cut, kind of eyeball it. See how well this fits right in there. A little bit too much. A little bit too much, but you know what? I can trim that off. I can trim that, so I'm not going to get too worked up over it. So score and slip. Kind of like Botox magic. Gonna get that all nice and ready to go. And I don't have much slip left, so I'm gonna try to get as much as I can onto this piece. Even if I have to wipe out kind of the inside of it. There we go. Let's see if I can just press that in there. I'm going to be cutting off this outer edge right here. But for the moment, I really don't need any excess material right here. So I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just kind of compressing and blending. So this gets the idea that it's going to be its new home. It's right here. And it's going to live there comfortably for the rest of its life, never having known that it fell short. Sorry about that. I'm trying to make sure you can see everything. All right, so I have a little something going on in there, but the air will open that back up, so I'm not as concerned. But I am going to go ahead and take the opportunity to kind of trim off that excess edge right there that I don't need. Straight down. Later on we'll bevel the edges, but we don't need to really worry about that right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paddle, and as I'm paddling, when I get the actual paddle in my hands, then that's using the air that's inside to help shape my box. Because right now it kind of appears, maybe you see it, maybe you don't, but it's kind of appearing to tilt a little bit, and that may be just because I let it fall. Okay, ceramic friends, I am back with a paddle and some extra paper towels. So, paddle, the whole purpose is for shaping. So I'm turning it around, and I'll be addressing some of the other things as I go. Sometimes I do the corners too, just so they understand that they're being not left and forgotten about. I'm still supporting my hand on this side, but paddle does a great deal. So every time I thump here, the air inside is compressing and trying to push and escape. And we're not going to let it, because we need the air in there. The air is precious, precious commodity, because it's going to help blow this out, make it look nice and neat. And you'll start to see little things. And again, my box is kind of, you'll still see seam lines trying to reappear. Not gonna let that happen. And ta-da, no seam line. So just keep going around, kind of paddling it. You're being kind of gentle, not using Hulk strength. If you use Hulk strength, then there's going to be problems. So try not to use. At this time, you can kind of round off your corners if you want. Doesn't hurt. But I'm just going around and re-paddling. So with this, I'm paddling. I'm not using Hulk strength, but I'm like letting it know I mean business at the same time. So there's a certain amount of force that is necessary. I'm seeing mine kind of angle a little bit, so I'm going to try to paddle it so it's more straight up and down. So right now I'm thinking of a Dr. Seuss house. It's kind of tilted a little bit, but Dr. Seuss is a lot of fun, so who knows, maybe I can get it to where I want it. And then I'm also going to flip it over and do the same thing. And then at some point you may forget which was your top and which was your bottom, and that's okay. You just want to establish, use the forces of nature, the air that's inside that's trying to escape, and the seams are holding it in. You're really just wanting to make it look nice. Beautiful little box that it's going to be. And you see I have something going on right there. So that may be something that I have to address later by masking. See, and I'm looking at this side appears to be nice, exactly how it's supposed to. This side makes me feel like it's kind of Dr. Seussing a little bit. It's a little irregular. So only way really to fix that is to go around. Sometimes you can do, if it were a block of clay like I do when I have fresh bags of clay, I just bang the box around. In this case, you definitely don't want to do that because there's only air that's inside. The whole point of doing that with bags of clay is to force the water that is in there through the clay. So with these, you just want to take a paddle to it. Just take the paddle, go through. And sometimes, and I'm going to be wrapping this up soon, but once I do, I'm still going to paddle this tomorrow. So just so you know, I do it as kind of a shaping thing. But that air is necessary on the inside to keep structural integrity of your piece. Okay, so turning it around. And the paddle can shape a little bit. I just feel like this box is going this way right now. So I may be making a Dr. Seuss box. But we'll see. We don't know quite yet. And see where I have this spot from before? I'm going to either cut into it, mask it, or do something, but the paddling actually has helped. Kind of get that into shape. So amazing things can come from a paddle. So if yours appears a little bit distorted or not perfectly like up and down, straight ahead like you had envisioned, please don't freak out because we can still do some remedies and just work that into your design. I mean, we're going to be disguising this box so that from far away it looks sculptural anyway. I'm going to be carving into it and adding things. The lid is going to be disguised in our design, so we're eventually going to be making cut lines into the lid. That's when we'll definitely need our cutting in at the bevel, not the straight down, but the bevel, because that way the box is going to lock and be good. So Just gonna keep knocking on it just a little bit longer. And feel free to kind of paddle it, because that's what's going to shape it. You can round off your edges as you're going. And I'm going to have to go back and rib it with the rib at some point. But for right now, I have a nice intact box. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. You'll want to leave that kind of as it is right now. It feels like it's sinking a little, so I'm going to flip it and see. And I want to get it to a point that it doesn't feel like it's sinking in. If it's sinking in, that's going to be problematic later. So that is the bell. That means that our journey for today is over. Hope you've enjoyed watching this box demonstration. We'll have demonstration number 2 after this beautiful box sits for 24 hours. Have a great day.